You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He's over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, are we going to talk about, you want to start with this decision or announcement by the federal government today on Google and how this affects anything going on here provincially?
Well, yeah, exactly. Before I go any further, I just want to say out loud what I told you guys privately yesterday. It was excellent work with Fadi Legault. It was a great interview, and I speak as someone who has no small experience in interviewing Montreal police chiefs. So I'm glad it's posted. I hope people listen to it because I think it's the kind of information we need in these rather tense times.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you.
Well, all that said, yeah, it's getting kind of weird because once again, it's $100 million, and the thing is, how does it get split? Who gets what? You know, it's like we should all. I feel like we should all be meeting in a dingy warehouse somewhere, and they divvy up.
Well, hold on. You said 100. You mean $100 million because it's $100 million.
Yeah, $100 million.
You said
100 billion.
You said 100,000.
Well, maybe that's how much I'll wind up with. I'm swinging for the fences, buddy. So, no, the thing is, already, Mathieu Legault, the Quebec Minister of Culture, is making noises. Well, you know, you're talking a lot about newspapers here and everything, but, you know, electronic media is in real trouble here in Quebec. Who's in trouble in Quebec? Electronic media. Well, it's TVA, which is, you know, one of the biggest cheerleaders for the government. I'm sure it's a coincidence, okay? I want to stress that. It's the merest coincidence that TVA might benefit from this cash, the billionaire-owned TVA news network. But, yeah, it's interesting because, of course, Facebook has told everyone to take a walk. Facebook is a law unto itself. I don't know. I'm not just saying it because I'm a part, to a certain extent, of what I do for a living. I'm a part of the story. But I find Facebook's becoming an even bigger sewage pipe than usual ever since we got blocked out there. It's like, it's, you know, kind of scary, some of the things I see on there. But, yeah, I mean, listen, Google has been helping all of us get the message out. I realize we stress the idea that you can find us at our individual websites. I guess some people just like to do one-stop shopping, and that's it. But once again, another gray area. Will the CBC, will the publicly funded to the tune of $1 billion a year CBC Radio Canada get a slice of this money? I should say no, and indeed, a lot of people are angry already that a publicly funded broadcaster is benefiting from private sector advertising. But yeah, listen, we're at that stage, and we can literally say after all these years of never having to look over our shoulder, every little bit helps. So I think it's good news just in time for Christmas. Certainly for the news sector. I'm not entirely sure how much is going to trickle down to the frontline operations, the really hyper-local news operations. I hope it gets out there because that is the fundamental of information for a lot of Canadians. But all that said, I guess it's better than nothing. And who knows? Maybe someday Google will come around, but I ain't holding my breath.
Do we think, you mean Meta? Do you mean one day Meta will come around?
Yeah, indeed, Meta, yeah, Facebook.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to. I'm hoping they will follow suit. I mean, I would think they would. What would be the reason to not? I mean,
because if they give in to us, remember we were inspired by the fact they caved to Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
So if they give in to us, it's going to be a domino effect. And in the end, you know, when you're used to making billions of dollars every second, to see that reduced to only a few $1 billion every second is the apocalypse, right?
Oh, so, yeah. I
there
feel
you
so
go.
terrible for them.
Okay, listen, we were on with the Vice Provost of McGill just earlier this afternoon. So, you know, Jim, the La Presse story suggesting the government's going to go ahead and cut or hike it by 33%, not double it. It's still not official. And I heard Pascal Derry today. I hate to say this, but she doesn't sound like she's backing down an inch.
Well, no, because when you're a cabinet minister, you have a script, and you do not deviate from that script. And I think for the time being, I mean, part of me says this may have been a deliberate leak just to see how it would go over with the people who actually run the government, i.e. the columnists over at Journal de Montreal. But all that said, I think that, and I suggested a few weeks back after François Legault got called down to the principal's office, he needs a way out. And even though, I mean, this sounds like a very grudging kind of compromise. Like, yeah, you know, the foreigners will still have to pay double because I'm François Legault, and in these parts, foreigners pay double. But, you know, people who are semi-foreigners, i.e. people from outside of Quebec but who live in Canada, I'll bring it down to 30%, which, of course, it calls into question the entire logic, the alleged logic from Madame Derry, who's saying, well, this is to redress the financing for underfunded French language universities. So apparently it wasn't that big an issue that you can slice it down from almost doubling tuition to, we'll raise it by about a third, you know? So that's where we get this kind of very interesting insight into the fact that when you sort of look through the weeds, you discover that there's absolutely nothing behind this plan other than Francois Legault's continued humiliation over having been beaten like a drum in a by-election in Quebec City.
You know, again, that story that's what we're just supposing, right? I mean, this is what La Presse is saying. How close do you think this is to what's actually going to happen? We're supposed to find out, I think, next week.
Well, you check out the bylines on that story. Those guys are right a lot more often than they're wrong. And like I say, it may have been a trial balloon. It may have been just an attempt to sort of say, oh, look, we're working in good faith. We will make some concessions, even though, as I say, Legault's in a corner. And if he doesn't know it, I'm certain there are people in his cabinet who have told him that they're in a very, very difficult situation right now. As I say, it's one thing when Francois Legault wants to push around people who are wearing kippas and hijabs. It's another when you go after McGill, okay? And as I said, there's the Quebec Nation and there's McGill Nation. And I still think that we're going to see more fallout from this. But honestly, I think right now, as it does on a daily basis, this government is improvising policy. It's trying to find a way to get out of this without looking completely stupid. I think if they're lucky, they'll be able to get out of it by looking only semi-stupid.
Well, and it's kind of everything at once, right? Like when you talk about Legault being in the corner, I mean, he's in a corner over this, the $7 million for the LA Kings, the strike happening. And I was thinking when it comes to being an Anglophobic bully is only one facet of his character. But all these things, this litany of absolute gaffes that you're mentioning, Natasha, I mean, believe me, this isn't les Anglais who are complaining anymore. It's become painfully obvious to most Quebecers is that, Francois Legault has become sort of embarrassing uncle at the far end of the Christmas dinner table. And the problem is, how do we dial that back? He's losing credibility. And right now, even though there are some people who even now are going to sleep hoping that Santa brings them good stuff, he's going to bed every night hoping that Legault marketing doesn't bring him a big lump of coal.
It's going to be an interesting week. We shall see. I think the really interesting part of this is, and again, I bring it up every time we discuss this, is the idea that the government's trying to make the case, as Pascal Derry did again today, that this is, it's multifaceted, right? It's finance and language. When it seems clear, Jim, it's nothing more than language, because all the numbers you look at, and I think the McGill Provost did the same thing, just simply don't add up. The money that Quebec says it will save is not going to work.
Angle is full of garbage, okay? The idea that Jean-François Roberge, Quebec's noted former education minister, is running around saying, well, there's too much English being spoken on the streets of Montreal. Only in Quebec City could a politician get away with saying something so breathtakingly stupid and still stay in Canada.
And we will leave it at that. James MENNIE at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.